All right, let's jump into this deep dive. We're going to be looking at Snoop Dogg and a social experiment he put together.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild. We've got news articles, we've got eyewitness
Oh,
accounts.
this is one for the books.
Yeah,
Yeah. It really digs into those societal biases, you know? The ones we don't even realize we have.
yeah, for sure. So picture this. Central Park, beautiful sunny day. People are out and about enjoying themselves,
Sounds lovely.
right? And there, sitting on a park bench, you see Snoop Dogg.
Hold on. Snoop Dogg.
Well, not exactly Snoop Dogg. He looks like he's, down on his luck.
Okay, so that's where this gets really interesting. It's not just about him blending in. He wants to see how people react, especially the police.
Exactly. And the disguise is key here. Patch-up clothes, worn sneakers, even a brown paper bag with what looks like a simple sandwich.
Oh, wow, he really committed.
He did. And that's what triggers those genuine reactions. If he was just wearing a baseball cap and some sunglasses, it wouldn't have been the same.
No, not at all.
So you see him interacting with people in the park. Some ignore him, others kind of give him those side glances.
Watching, you know?
But there's this one woman walking her dog.
Or
She actually defends Snoop's right to be there when someone suggests calling the police.
really? You know, that says a lot right there. You've got people who are clearly uncomfortable with him being there,
Yeah,
but she sees him as a human being.
exactly. Deserving of respect and dignity. It's like his presence alone forces people to confront their own ideas about homelessness.
I mean, think about it. It makes you wonder, right? What would you do in that situation?
And things escalate when two police officers, Thompson and Johnson, approach him.
This is where it gets juicy. All those power dynamics, unconscious biases, they all come to the surface.
Absolutely. Thompson, the younger officer, he's suspicious right away.
Yeah.
Keeps coming back, questioning Snoop, even though Snoop's ID checks out clean.
Wow. So what's he suspicious of? I mean, it's not like...
Well, that's the thing. Thompson keeps focusing on how calm Snoop is. He thinks it's an act, like he's hiding something or mocking him.
So Snoop's just sitting there, minding his own business.
Pretty much. But you can sense Thompson getting more and more agitated, while Officer Johnson, the older one, seems more hesitant, trying to calm things down.
Classic good cop, bad cop dynamic, right?
Yeah, and what's really striking is that Thompson seems bothered that Snoop, despite looking homeless, isn't acting the way he thinks a homeless person should.
Like there's a script he's supposed to follow.
Yeah, like he can't reconcile the calm demeanor with the image of someone down on their luck.
It makes you think, right? Would Thompson have reacted the same way if Snoop had been wearing a suit and tie?
You know, it really makes you wonder how our perceptions of someone's social standing color our judgment about their character.
Absolutely. And that's a dangerous path to go down because those assumptions can have serious consequences.
And they do in this case. Because here's the kicker. This whole time, Snoop's been live streaming the entire encounter to millions of viewers.
Whoa. Talk about a game changer.
Right. When Snoop reveals that he's been broadcasting everything, the power dynamic flips completely.
That's insane. What happened? How did the officer react?
Thompson is total caught off guard. He goes from being the authority figure to the one under the microscope.
Oh, wow. The tables have turned.
Big time. Suddenly, he's got the weight of his actions on full display for the world to see.
You can practically feel the tension. Those eyewitness accounts really capture the atmosphere.
Yeah. People start gathering outside the park, news crews show up, it becomes a media frenzy.
And it all spirals from that one interaction.
Exactly. That moment when Thompson let his suspicions take over. From a quiet afternoon in the park, it's transformed into this huge social commentary, unfolding live for everyone.
And this is just the beginning.
It is. The aftermath of this is just as important as the event itself. But we're going to have to pause here and pick up the rest of this story in part 2 of this deep dive.
I'm on the edge of my seat here. Can't wait to hear what happens next. It really makes you think, about how we judge people so quickly.
It does. And you know what's interesting? Even when things get tense with that officer, Thompson, Snoop still manages to bring in a little humor.
Oh, yeah. How so?
It's subtle, but it's there. Even when Thompson's grilling him, Snoop cracks a joke about the park bench economy.
He's got jokes.
Yeah, and it's smart. Because humor, it can really disarm a situation, especially when there's that power imbalance.
It kind of throws you off guard.
Right. Thompson's expecting this certain reaction, a certain level of deference. But Snoop doesn't give him that.
Snoop's playing a different game.
Exactly. He stays calm, throws in a joke. It's like a way of taking back some control.
It's like saying, I'm still a person, even if you don't see me that way.
And it probably helps keep things from totally boiling over.
Probably so.
But, the whole thing does raise some ethical questions.
Like what?
Was it right for Snoop to put those officers in that position, even if it was to make a bigger point?
Yeah, that's a tough one. There are definitely arguments on both sides.
Right. Some might say he manipulated the situation, you know, maybe even put those officers' careers at risk just to make a statement.
But others could argue that the ends justify the means.
Yeah, that this whole experiment exposed a problem that we really need to address.
A problem that's been there all along.
Exactly. And those officers, they weren't forced to act the way they did. They made choices based on their own biases, their own perceptions.
And Snoop, he didn't create those prejudices. He just set up a situation that brought them to light.
He's holding up a mirror, right?
Mm-hmm.
Showing society how we treat those who are different.
Or those we assume are different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where does this leave us? What are the big takeaways from all of this? How do we apply this to our own lives?
I think the biggest one is just being aware. We all have biases, whether we realize it or not.
It's like that saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. So the first step is just admitting that those biases exist. And then when you're interacting with someone, just stop for a second. Yeah. And ask yourself, am I reacting to this person based on who they really are? Or am I letting my assumptions take over?
That's a good one. And beyond just being aware on a personal level, how do we address this on a bigger scale?
That's where things get really tricky. We need to look at those institutions, those systems that perpetuate these biases.
Right. How do we hold them accountable?
We need to push for policy changes,
Yeah.
support those organizations fighting against discrimination, and really just have honest, open conversations about inequality.
It's not going to be easy.
No, but it's necessary if we want a fairer, more just society.
And that's what Snoop, in his own way, was trying to do.
He started a conversation, brought these issues out into the open.
Whether you agree with his methods or not,
Mm.
he made us stop and think.
Which, let's be honest, is something we don't do enough these days.
And you know what really sticks with me? That note Snoop leaves on the park bench.
What did it say?
Your story matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Wow. That's powerful. Simple, but powerful.
It reminds us that everyone has a story, right?
Uh-huh.
Experiences that shape who they are. And those stories deserve to be heard.
Especially those voices that get silenced, pushed aside.
Exactly. It's like a call to action, isn't it? Speak up for those who can't. Fight injustice. Create a world where every story truly matters.
And with that, let's turn the focus back to you, our listener.
Because this isn't just about Snoop or those officers, right? It's about all of us.
Yeah, definitely. It makes you think about how we treat each other every day.
It does. Like, what about those little interactions? The people you pass on the street, at the store.
We're always making assumptions without even thinking about it, huh?
Yeah, totally. And our brains, they love to categorize things.
To make things easier.
Exactly. But sometimes those shortcuts, they lead to biases. And we don't even realize it.
It's like we're on autopilot.
Yeah, we need something to shake us up to make us see things differently.
And that's what Snoop did, right? He messed with those automatic responses.
He did. He forced us to question things, to see the world from a different perspective.
And what did we see?
We saw how much we judge people based on just a quick glance. Appearance, social status, you name it.
Like with those people in the park.
Exactly. They saw Snoop on that bench, and they just reacted. They had no idea about his life, his story.
They just saw a label.
And that's the thing about labels, isn't it? They oversimplify things. They reduce people to just one category.
And that's how prejudice starts.
So how do we stop doing that? How do we get past those automatic judgments?
I think it starts with admitting that we all have biases.
Right. Even if we don't want to.
Uh-huh. And then when we meet someone, we got to pause.
Mm-hmm.
Be intentional about how we approach that interaction.
Like actually listen to what they're saying.
Exactly. And realize that our own experiences, they're not the only ones that matter.
There are so many stories out there.
So many perspectives we haven't even considered.
And each one, it's important.
Every single one.
Whether it's someone running a company, teaching a class, or, yeah, even someone experiencing homelessness.
Everyone deserves respect.
Dignity, compassion.
So when you think about Snoop on that bench, remember what it taught us. About perspective, about assumptions, about creating a better world.
Remember that everyone has a story. And your story matters too.
Don't ever forget that. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.